Hello my friends and welcome back to the shop. Today we are coming at you from the Crossroads General Store all the way up in Chestertown, New York. Today we have a gorgeous, a really interesting Winchester rifle, 1895, chambered in 3003, 30 Government. It's a pretty cool gun. It's definitely used. It's definitely off the used rack up here. We've got some. There's a lot of information out there on these. I have not seen one like this in this particular configuration before. Let's get it down on the bench, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, here we are down on the bench. We got the John Moses. I thought this was kind of cool. I found this in the shop. A John Moses Browning tribute book. This has got. I was reading through this briefly. This has got some of his designs and stuff like that in it, and then a lot of details about his life. It was a pretty cool book. I might just take it home with me because it's pretty interesting. But to the topic at hand, we have a 1895 Winchester rifle chambered in 30 Government. Not something I've seen before in person, but a pretty interesting cartridge. Now, this is remanufactured ammunition. This is bought from a commercial remanufacturer. It's made, from what I understand, this has been made from a 30-06 cartridge. So I'm sure that what we've done is that we've either trimmed it or we left the cartridge the same. We're trying to find OALs, and I guess the 30-06 is actually a shorter cartridge, probably because it uses a Spitzer style bullet. But it's a 220 grain bullet that's doing around 2,300 feet per second. So this is definitely no slouch. Definitely no slouch out of a 20 or 22 inch bore that we have here. And then getting sort of to the meat of the discussion, we have an 1895 Winchester. Not too sure the build date on this. I'll look it up. I'll try and get a serial number here and find a build date on this. This is not from 1895. It's an 1895 design. But this, because of the cartridge that we're running here, this is probably more like the 19 teens, somewhere in there, maybe a little bit before, because the 30 Government really wasn't around that long. So maybe 1903, 1905, somewhere in there is the build date on this. But like I said, I'll try and look it up and float it in. So, but when we open this up, if this is, now don't let this scare you because it's going to kind of go everywhere, but when we open this thing up, what we can see is just how many parts and pieces have to move out of the way, and we can see just this beautiful old school bluing on these internal parts, and all this stuff is still here. This thing has been well maintained, well cared for. It seems as though that the stock has been refinished once before, but it doesn't look like this has ever been reblued. And then when we head up to the top, we can see this nice beefy extractor in there. We can open this up again and try and take a look down in there, but just absolutely just beautifully built components down on the inside. Now, something that's kind of cool on this one is that this is featuring a rear ghost ring, and it's a single support. It's supported from one side, a one side ghost ring, but we can loosen this, and then we can adjust our elevation here. I have not seen a sight quite like this before. I thought that this was really, really very cool, and you guys would really dig this whole like sight configuration. Normally I'd be a little bit more inclined to goof around with this, but I'm not going to today. But I just thought that this whole sight design was really pretty interesting, and it's a ghost ring style in the back. We can drift this from side to side, and then we can adjust the height. Adjust the height here. The front sight is hard mounted and is not adjustable. So a cool fact about these is that back in the day, Winchester also made these for the Russians as well. So they made these chambered in, you guessed it, 7.62 by 54R. A pile of you guys are probably already acquainted with that. We don't have a lot of those rifles here in the States. Are incredibly rare. We don't get those a lot. Across the pond is probably a whole different story. You see them all the time. But the main difference between theirs and ours is that anything in 7.62 by 54R is actually they've got a set of feed lips up here that are going to allow for feeding this off of a stripper clip, which is really, really, really cool. So we got 4 in the mag, 1 in the tube, and so we got a total capacity of 5, which was competitive for the day for the other bolt guns that were out there. And the whole thing is, the argument is that you could run this faster than you could run any bolt gun. But like I said, 220 grains doing 2,300 feet per second is definitely no slouch. It's definitely not slow. That's a pretty nice, pretty hustling heavy enough projectile that we're going to get some nice we're going to have some nice ballistics there. At any rate, what is kind of cool is that and we did this once before, but this can't open. We can't rack this, right? Rack it. We can't cycle this without actually pulling on this. And you guys can just see that this thing is moving. You can see that right there in the frame, but we can't cycle this without actually pulling back on this lever. So when we pull back on this lever, a bunch of stuff has to move out of the way. Now, if we think about this in context with lever guns specifically, back in the day when they first started making lever guns, they were making these in pistol calibers, right? They were just pistol caliber carbines. The idea, they weren't making them in these big calibers yet. So as this design kind of evolved over time, we end up with 2 locking lugs, right? 2 locking lugs up that are indexing up at the top. We can't see them from the top, but we can see them from the bottom when we open this up. And then all of this stuff has to sort of bend and flex and move in order to get enough travel on the top of this thing to cycle the next cartridge. The thing is that they weren't really designed with the idea of, hey, we're going to use a really, really, really large cartridge. You know, we're going to use a long cartridge. They're not really set up for long cartridges, set up for short cartridges. So this one has quite the cycle on it, right? And it's got to come all the way back, all the way down, almost a full 90 degrees from the action, to pivot in order to, pull that bolt back far enough to cycle the next cartridge. It's a pretty cool design, and it's so nicely made. If we look at the rest, sort of moving down the rifle a bit, we've got a mooned butt plate here that comes over on the top. Some pretty nice stock work. I think, like I said, that this has been refinished. Somebody repolyed this at one point. Kind of wish they left it alone, but this gun's just so cool. It's got a lot of interesting characteristics going on. A nice gusseted or a escutcheon in the stock on this piece of wood, a little ebony rolling down the middle, and then we've just got a fin. Oh, I'm sorry, this is adjustable. This is driftable, but a fin front sight with a brass insert. But I mean a 30 caliber cartridge again. John Moses Browning designed some really interesting stuff there. Okay, so that is an overview on this really cool 1895 Winchester product. It's just a very interestingly designed older gun, especially with the sight on the side of this thing. This is just very cool, a very cool setup, and in such an interesting cartridge as 30 Government. I've never seen it before. I thought you guys would really love it, guys. It has been an absolute pleasure. If you liked the video, like the video. And if you think that this 1895 Winchester was just as cool as cool can be, subscribe to this YouTube. I really appreciate it, guys. Like I said, it has been an absolute pleasure, and I will catch you in the next one.